Mr. President, I'm honored to be here with several other members talking about the issue of immigration. This has become this very contentious issue that as soon as you say the words immigration, there's a whole group of people that immediately start screaming amnesty on every part of the conversation. There's another whole group that starts screaming jackbooted thugs taking Latina grandmothers out of their homes. And the whole conversation diminishes and we lose the policy issues that are in place. There are obvious problems with immigration. We have not taken those obvious issues on in decades. They need to be resolved. And every year that they're not resolved, this issue gets harder and it gets more complicated. We should address the issue of immigration. Now, for years, the conversation's been out there, and for years, it remains unresolved. I would challenge this body in the next 3 months. Let's resolve some of the big issues in immigration. Almost 4 years ago now, I was in Central America with a group of other senators and House members. We were meeting with Central American leaders, and we were meeting with them to talk about immigration and some of those individuals leaving those countries, coming to the United States illegally, but also to be able to meet with them in Central America to determine what do they do for immigration. Multiple countries that are there in the conversation were talking about how they were increasing their border requirements at their borders, how they were managing their workforce within their country, how individuals from other Central American countries were traveling to their countries and changing the job structure and changing the pay structure. We somehow get this belief that the immigration issue is only an American issue. Every country in the world deals with immigration because every country in the world has the right and the responsibility to know who is in their country. Are they citizens? Are they non-citizens? I should have the ability in my country to be able to know who's coming in as a guest and to be able to say yes or no. That's a basic right. For some reason, that becomes lost in all of this conversation. When we fly anywhere else in the world, we have a visa or we have a passport because when we enter that country requires it because that country, when we land, wants to know who's in their country, where they are. Now, that seems normal to us when we talk about travel, but for some reason it gets lost in this issue of immigration. This should be a normal conversation, that our country would know who is in the country, that we would know where they are if they're a guest, and we would know when they're leaving. After the 9/11 Commission finished, they challenged our nation to resolve one of the issues of immigration that's sat out there that is still unresolved to this day. It's entry-exit visas. Why can we not know if a person comes in under a legal visa, we know when they come in, we don't know when they leave? That's still unresolved a decade and a half later. And year after year, when I've talked to Homeland Security, year after year, they've said, we're doing a pilot project, we're close. And year after year, that's unresolved. The vast majority of the people that are in our country illegally didn't cross the border illegally, they came with a visa. And then they overstayed it and they never left. And we're never asking the question, who's here, who's not here, and where do those connections come from? So what I'd like to find is a way that we can establish a group of foundational issues that are common sense solutions to the obvious immigration issues that we face and find common ground. We will have disagreement in this body, but we should be able to find common ground on immigration issues that we can all look at and go, okay, that's a reasonable way to do it. Probably every member of this body would do it a little bit different and would have a different set of preferences. But we should all agree it should be done. We've got to solve the obvious issues, and there are areas of common ground to be able to do it. Now, quite frankly, the President of the United States gave us quite a gift about 3.5 months ago. When he said to the DACA program, that's an administrative program, it should be a legislative issue. I'm not going to renew that anymore on an administrative issue. That needs to be done in Congress. For the first time in a long time, Congress has a deadline to be able to deal with immigration. That's actually a very good gift, because this Congress has punted the immigration issue year after year after year after year without a deadline to get it resolved. Now we do. That deadline's in early March. I would suggest to this body, let's get it resolved. Let's find the areas where we can actually find common ground in this area. Some of them should be pretty obvious. Immigration courts right now have over 500,000 cases backlogged and pending. 500,000. Currently, if you're going to hire a new judge to be able to be in the immigration courts, it will take 742 days to hire one immigration judge. That's not right. That's ridiculous. We should be able to get that resolved, to be able to add new judges to our immigration courts and to be able to help deal with a backlog of over 500,000 people. The E-Verify system has been renewed in a bipartisan way year after year. Let's take it from being a temporary program, which it is right now, which some people don't even know it's a temporary program. Let's move it from a temporary program to a permanent program. Let's do a permanent reauthorization. And let's make the tweaks and changes that are needed, whether it's to be able to move the E-Verify into the hiring system, whether to be able to encourage individuals in their hiring for more companies to be able to use it, for it to be a faster system, it's more reliable. At times, it can take up to 6 months to be able to get a final answer from E-Verify. Again, that's absurd. That's a fixable issue that we should be able to do. We should be able to resolve the issue of chain migration. We somehow believe that chain migration was an issue that's existed forever. It's not. That's been around only since 1965. Prior to 1965, our immigration issues were tighter than they are now. But now it has formed this system where you can add initially nuclear family, and then as you gain citizenship, you can add parents, you can eventually add siblings, you can add other individuals, and it continues to accelerate. I'm always frustrated when I hear people talk about our legal immigration system in the United States and say we should be more open. We admit 1 million people a year through legal immigration. 1 million a year. We're a very open country to legal immigration. We need to be more precise. We need to base our immigration not just on chain and family connections, but actually what our nation needs to grow economically. Now, I'm not anti-family, far from it. But we should have a reasonable system. Canada doesn't do it this way. Australia doesn't do it this way. The UK doesn't do it this way. We still do. We should be able to resolve this. We should be able to deal with the issues of border security. There's been a lot of conversation about a wall. I don't think we should have a 2,000-mile-long wall on our southern border and a multi-thousand-mile-long border on our northern border. But I do think we should be able to monitor our border, know who's coming in and out. Not everyone is coming just to work. There are individuals that are trafficking drugs and people. We do need to be able to monitor that. I've heard folks say we don't need a wall anywhere. I totally disagree. This whole adage of a 20-foot wall just begs for a 21-foot ladder. If you talk to the Homeland Security folks and the border security folks, they would say, fine, put a 21-foot ladder there because it slows you down in the process. A wall is not designed to prevent you entirely. It's designed to slow you so we can actually interdict you and to be able to prevent you from coming in. Yuma, Arizona can tell you the story about when they put up a wall, how it dramatically slowed down crime in Yuma, Arizona, rather than just having an open border. There are areas we desperately need a wall. There are other areas we just need vehicular barriers. There are other areas we need drones and we need greater technology. But we certainly need more personnel in that area. It's one of our other challenges we face. The president has said, let's add 5,000 new people. Great. You know how long it takes to hire one Border Patrol person? 450 days. 450 days to hire one person on the Border Patrol. It's a broken system of hiring. We need to be able to fix that. We need to be able to do more rapid screening. We certainly need to take care of the issue of sanctuary cities. All of the nation last week did a giant sigh for Kate Steinle's family as she was murdered in San Francisco in a sanctuary city from someone who had 7 felonies and had been deported 5 times. And then a jury said because the bullet ricocheted off the ground, it wasn't really murder. He can go free. We've got to resolve the issue of sanctuary cities. That's unjust. We're better than that as a nation. And we certainly should resolve the issue of DACA. We have kids that have been in this country that have grown up in this country, that they get up every day and they say the Pledge of Allegiance in this country. They speak perfect English. They have great grades and have had no criminal history. And when I ask people in my state, who would you like to come into this country to be able to join this country? If they say the pledge every day, if they speak perfect English, if they're passionate about entrepreneurship and starting companies and getting engaged, they join the military, that's exactly who the people of my state would like to see immigrate to this country and to be a part of it. Well, guess what? We've got almost 1 million of them already living here, but they have no legal status. They were brought here as a child by their parents under no decision of their own. We should have a long-term legislative solution. This particular bill that's under discussion now has a short-term solution to that, something called the Bridge Act. It's a 3-year legislative solution. It cries out for a longer solution, but it at least gives additional certainty, more so than what DACA has. I would challenge us as a body to be able to look at all of these reasonable issues and to be able to say, if we can't decide on these, let's start the conversation. What can we decide on? How far can we get? How much can we resolve in immigration? Let's do it, and let's do it right in the conversation. But let's finish it this time. We should negotiate with the House. They've got some great ideas. We should negotiate here. There's some tremendous ideas on both sides of the aisle. But let's certainly get it done. I look forward to that ongoing conversation. Let's get this resolved in the days ahead. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.